This isn't just another online event, it's your fast track to success. Welcome to the 2025 Student Summit, where pharmacy technician students and recent grads shift gears and speed into their future careers. Just like a high-stakes race, your journey to becoming a successful pharmacy technician takes focus, strategy, and the right team behind you. And this summit, it's your pit crew, here to tune you up and fuel your momentum. Over 3 days, you'll hit the track with 6 powerful sessions, each designed to sharpen your skills and accelerate your growth. From mastering calculations and top medications, to navigating pharmacy law and preparing for the workforce, we've got every turn of your career covered. This summit isn't about coasting. It's about putting the pedal to the metal, learning from the pros, asking the big questions, and building the confidence to take the lead in your career, whether you're still in school, studying for certification, or starting your first job. The finish line is just the beginning. And the best part, it's 100% free and 100% built for you. April 22nd to 24th. Join us online. Let's rev up your skills, fuel your potential, and cross that finish line together. This is your moment. This is your Student Summit.
Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to day 2 of NPTA's Pharmacy Technician Student Summit. If you are not, if this is your first day here, you're not familiar, my name is Mike Johnston. I'm the founder and CEO of NPTA. My fabulous co-host, sidekick, Miss Ashley Smith, is not with us today. Unfortunately, we're having some really bad storms here in Houston today, and so there's a power outage there with her, but hopefully she'll be back with us tomorrow because she's definitely going to be missed today. So a couple of housekeeping items from yesterday, and then we're going to jump right into our first session. But we did do a giveaway yesterday. It was the rules, I guess, for it was to connect with me on social, either on Instagram or LinkedIn, and send me a message. And so we randomly chose a winner this morning. And so congratulations to, it's gonna show up, there we go. Brittany McAllister Jackson, congratulations. So you won a free year membership with NPTA. We're also going to hook you up with registration for CPhT Live later this fall, so you'll be able to get all your CE credits. And so Jessica, who's here in chat, she is our Director of Member Success. She'll be reaching out to you with all of those details. And for all the rest of you, make sure that you hang by for the break between sessions when I chat with you all. Then at that point, I'm going to come up with another giveaway option for today. So you still have a chance to win. And quite frankly, you're all winners because you're here. You're getting great information, content from some of the top educators and instructors in the US. But yeah, just welcome back. We're so delighted to have you all here. We've got students and educators joining us from literally all across the nation. I know some of you are streaming us in class today, so we want to welcome you as well. Feel free to use the link if you want to join in the chat during the session. So I am super excited to get this day started. We're going to kick things off with an incredible session all about the top 200 drugs. I think that ranks like right up there for most people on their stress meter on what they're nervous about with the exam. And so we've brought in a powerhouse today to share her secrets on learning the top 200 drugs. So I don't want to take any more of her time. Without further ado, let's go ahead and jump into our first session of the day. Welcome to Mastering the Top 200 Drugs, presented by Dr. Lorinda Lohner. Lorinda is an award-winning educator and best-selling author with over 17 years of experience teaching pharmacy and nursing students across the globe. She was named Master Teacher by one of the largest medical for her innovative approach to education, including the development of a PTCE exam prep mobile app and review program that led to record pass rates. Her latest book, Top 200 Drugs Memorizing Made Ridiculously Easy, has been an Amazon #1 bestseller in 4 categories for a year now. As a passionate advocate for creativity in science and healthcare, she empowers students to think beyond the textbook and connect learning with purpose. Outside the classroom, she's also a TEDx speaker and devoted mom, championing the idea that you can be both brilliant and imaginative. Please help me welcome Dr. Lorinda Lohner.
Good morning. Welcome to the Top 200 Drugs Memorizing Made Ridiculously Easy session. I'm streaming from Las Vegas. I wish I could send you some sun in Houston, but I'll be here to send you some light in helping you remember the top 200 drugs. Without further ado, let's start. Top 200 drugs memorizing made ridiculously easy. What is the challenge? Okay? Or what's the struggle? Usually the struggle is, how do I memorize all the top 200 drugs? Do you really have to memorize all the top 200 drugs? Is it really memorizing? A lot of people are concerned about this top 200 drugs, especially with the new blueprint of the PTCE, because 40% of the PTCE is medications and 26.25% is patient safety, which accounts to 66.25%, mostly drugs. But it's not just memorizing. We have to understand that we have to understand how the drugs work in our body. So I found a solution, strategies that will help you remember the top 200 drugs and maybe more. My goal is to make the learning process more manageable and enjoyable. My students have known me to make any lecture fun and entertaining, because I'll tell you again later, funny and enjoyable sticks in the head. I'll be here for 45 minutes talking about the 10 tips for easy recall. So let's start right away. Tip number 1, grouping your drugs by class. It is very important that you group drugs by class. Why? If you group them by class, you actually group them by the organs or the systems that they affect. And in doing so, you know what the drug does. Let me explain further. So in the PTCE or in the ExCPT, you will be asked questions as, what is the class of the drug? Okay. And students ask me, Miss L, do we have to remember the pharmacological class or the therapeutic class? I say both, because when PTCE asks you on your test, what is the class of the drug, they're not being very specific whether it's pharmacological class or therapeutic class. So this is how I differentiate the two. This is what I tell my students. When you say pharmacological class, it's something that you can't pronounce. It's something that you can't pronounce or you can't picture. It's harder to pronounce or harder to picture. Say, for example, beta blocker. Unless you did organic chemistry or inorganic chemistry, then it's easy for you to picture the chemical configuration of that drug. You can't picture beta blocker, but you can picture antihypertensive, especially if you know those prefixes, roots, and suffixes that are based off Latin or Greek abbreviations. So a therapeutic class will be antihypertensive. Anti means against, hyper means high, tensive means tension or pressure. So to differentiate, again, pharmacological class versus therapeutic class. Pharmacological class is something that's so hard to say, especially when you're just starting in the program, okay? And therapeutic class is something that the drug does, what the drug does to the body, okay? Another thing that will help you with grouping the drugs is knowing the most commonly used prefixes, roots, and suffixes, okay? So at the beginning it will be hard, but you will find grouping them easily once you figure out, oh, there's a common syllable, or there's a common prefix, or root, or a suffix. Say, for example, the therapeutic class anti-hypertensive. Pril, enalapril, lisinopril. What are those? ACE inhibitors, okay? And then we also have, under the antihypertensives, sartans, losartan, right? So you're trying to figure out, oh, there's a common prefix, root, or suffix. And I can keep going on. You have your olol, which is your beta blocker, okay? Atenolol, betaxolol. And then you have the next one would be dipin, amlodipine, which is your calcium channel blocker. I'm still on antihypertensives, and these are the common suffixes on antihypertensives. We also have some ide and zocin. Zocin is your alpha blocker, and your ide are your diuretics. All of these suffixes I mentioned are antihypertensives. But the pharmacological class is a class that's written under each suffix, okay? That's another way to group them by class, okay? This is an FDA official, most commonly used prefixes, roots, and suffixes, which I'm going to tell you how to get them and have them handy as at the very end. Next one of my students' favorite, mnemonics, okay? Mnemonics. So what do we, sorry, I'm trying to enlarge my screen. Oops, but it's clicking. Okay, mnemonics. These are your memory aids, okay? Something that will help you remember things, okay? I have two examples here. PEMDAS, which you learned in elementary, parenthesis, exponents, multiplication, division, prior, addition, and subtraction, right? And then in math, I always talk about it. King Henry died drinking chocolate milk. One of my students added, and I like it, and McDonald's. So these are the prefixes or the mnemonics that we use to remember the amount of drugs. Kilo means 1,000 times. Hecto means 100 times. By having the mnemonics in place, it helps you remember the drugs or anything that you need to remember. Let me apply that in drugs. I talk about PEMDAS, which we learned in elementary or high school math. I talked about King Henry died drinking chocolate milk at McDonald's, which is another math mnemonics. This time, this is one of my favorites. Antihypertensives, I always call them the ABCDs of hypertension. The drugs used in hypertension. It'll be ARBs, your sartans. If you pay attention, they all end in sartan. Your ACE inhibitors, those are your A on the ABCDs of hypertension. Enalapril, lisinopril, captopril, they all end in prils. And then my B in the ABCDs of hypertension would be beta blockers. And beta blockers end in olol, metoprolol, atenolol, propranolol. Okay? My C for the ABCDs of hypertension will be your calcium channel blockers. And again, if you pay close attention, this is your amlodipine, nifedipine, verapamil. Okay? And then the D, ABCD, diuretics. your hydrochlorothiazide, your furosemide, and spironolactones. That is a mnemonic for the ABCDs of hypertension. Third tip, visualization techniques. You gotta visualize. Say, for example, vasodilators. You picture a vase or a vase, okay? And then your beta blockers, you picture a gate that blocks it, okay? But I do use a very important, or one of my favorite sites that I share with my students. It's pixorize.com. They also have a YouTube channel. I'm not connected to Pixorize, but my students enjoy this. Look at this picture. This is Pixorize's representation of macrolides. Macrolides is an antibiotic. They represent a hand sanitizer. They represent antibiotics. So in the Pixorize website and in the Pixorize YouTube channel, when you're talking about antibiotics, the picture will have a hand sanitizer, okay? Since this group of antibiotics is called macrolides, there's a macaroni and cheese in the bowl right there, right? So it's an antibiotic, that's the hand sanitizer, and then there's a macaroni and cheese in there, and you can see that the boy is throwing up from eating too much macaroni and cheese, because one of the side effects of macrolides is nausea and vomiting. I really like this picture, and Pixorize has a lot of visualization techniques or pictures like this on their site. And then also pay close attention to the confetti right there on the side, because macrolides have a suffix thromycin, thus the throw. So this is just a very good example of visualization techniques that we can use when we're studying drugs, right? So you have to picture it. The funnier it is, the better. Your personal story is better because it's innate to you. So we want to use those stories. I do have students who share with each other the stories on how they remember drugs. Tip number 4, flashcards. This goes way, 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 way back. I always tell my students stories about the evolution of flashcards. Back in the day, there were only white flashcards. And then there came the colored flashcards when I was in pharmacy school. And I thought this was one of the best inventions after sliced bread. So I told them, by just creating a legend of the colors of this flashcards, it will help you remember this drug, especially during a test. It will flash in your head like the colors. So here's some examples that I tell them on how to do the flashcards. Of course, you can still use the flashcards that are white flashcards, the original flashcards, but it's easier to have them color-coded. Why? There's a study that 80% of people all over the world are visuals. They have to see to believe. And I'm a living example of colored flashcards flashing in my head during a test. So here's some of the legends that I created on flashcards. So if it's an antibiotic, I'll use white flashcards, okay? Why? Because white blood cells rise when you have infection, okay? So I'll put all my antibiotics in a white flashcard, okay? And then next, drugs for the heart. There's no red flashcards, but there's a neon pink or bright pink. So I'll use all of the neon pinks for my cardiovascular drugs or drugs for the heart, okay? And then when it's other anti-infectives like antiviral, I think of pus. So I'll put all my antivirals or other anti-infectives other than antibiotics in bright green or bright yellow flashcards. Okay, neon green, neon yellow flashcards, because I picture pus. So those are just some of the examples of color coding or legend in my head. And what does this do? So during a test, if I'm faced with a question or a multiple choice question, just like in the PTCE, it'll flash in my head that the answer is pink. And what do I know as pink? This must be a drug that affects the cardiovascular system or that is for the heart. Because the pink flashcard flashes in my head, not necessarily the drug itself, but that helps you make an educated guess. So I like using the flashcards, but with the digitalization and the technology, we have a lot of fancy flashcards now. This one I created specifically for the top 200 drugs to go with the book. Okay, and at the end, I believe NPTA will give you all of these resources and how to get them. So if you notice this digital flashcard that I created, the first thing I did was create a legend. So flashcards are front and back. I don't think I can click this. Okay, so I can't show you the example, but they'll put a QR code later, as they mentioned. Okay, so I create the legend first so that when I flip Aricept, it affects the central nervous system. That's a tip for me. Okay, and then I flip it, the back will actually say what it does. Okay, but by just having that emoji or symbol of the brain, when I'm taking a test, I will recall that Aricept has something to do with the nervous system. So the first thing I do when I create flashcards is create a legend. Okay, and I make sure I remember this legends. Tip number 5, acronyms. I actually mentioned tip number 5 together with mnemonics, because mnemonics is memory aid and acronyms is memory aid as well. So one of my favorites, like I said, is the ABCDs of hypertension. You remember? Let's recall. There's 2 A's, right? There could be 3. Okay. The A would be your ARBs, the andin-sartan, right? Angiotensin receptor blockers. A's, inhibitors. Angiotensin converting enzymes, right? If I may add alpha blockers, ACE inhibitor ansin-pril, alpha blockers, and then zosin. The B in the ABCDs of hypertension, beta blockers. The andin, yes, OLOL. C, calcium channel blockers, and D, so many diuretics. But these are the 4 ABCDs, acronyms or abbreviations that I use to remember how to manage hypertension in terms of drug class. I hope this is helping you. Next, storytelling. I do have a lot of stories when I'm talking to my students. I share stories, my personal stories, patient stories, my student stories, of course, being mindful of HIPAA. I don't say names, just stories. But creating stories in your head sticks in your head, especially if it's something that's funny and entertaining, okay? And if it's something that happened to you, a personal experience. So I do have a story about this drug. I always tell them stories during a pharmacology class. I want you to remember, that's why I had it in bold, that funny sticks in the head. And the funnier the story, the better the recall. So I've been fighting with myself whether I'm going to share this story or not. And my students right now here in class are smiling and they all voted, I think you should share this story. I am thinking that we're all adults here, 18 and above, before you even start in the program or before you get licensed in other states. So I told them the story and they said, you have to share it during the session. And I said, I'm still debating. But anyway, we're all in the medical field, and we're all adults here, so I'm going to tell the story. I said, this is how I remember Cialis when it came out. Cialis is a brand name, and the generic is tadalafil. Okay, so Cialis brand, generic tadalafil. Okay, and it is for ED, erectile dysfunction. So I tell my students, when a man takes Cialis, okay, it goes ta-da! And then that man can go to La La Land because he's going to be fulfilled and fill his woman in. So they told me, you got to tell that story because we'll never forget that story. And to this day, they're still laughing, but trying not to laugh because I told them, limit your movement and limit the noises because they're getting the audio. So I hope that helps. Funny sticks in the head. The funnier the story, the better the recall. Next. So again, there is a QR code on the top. I created a mobile app that had all these stories and audio lectures, which I share with my students all the time. The broccoli story, the smoothie story, all of those you can find. Just access that QR code, and that's how you will find all the resources I'm talking about. Next one. Tip number 7, audio and repetition. I know it says memorize. My students know that I don't like the word memorize because memorizing is not long-term. That's what I believe in, okay? After a test, you forget everything if you just memorize something. But if you know what the drug does and how it works in your body, and you tie the first 6 tips that I gave you, they'll be long-term. Even if you're sleeping, it's just like driving. It becomes second nature to you. So repetition is key. So I quiz my students all the time. Sartan, what's the class? Olo, what's the class? Sozin, what's the class? I always ask them these things over and over and over. So by the time they've been here a while, they've mastered these things. So no matter what, repetition is key. You really just have to internalize it. But tying it to the first 6 tips will make it even better. Tip number 8, interactive quizzes in practice. With the technology now, there are a lot of quiz apps. A lot of testing apps. You gotta practice. You gotta set aside time to practice, especially if you decided to take the PTCE every day. Set a time, 20 minutes. I'm gonna do a practice test. Whether you make the practice test or not, that's up to you. But I highly recommend that you make the practice test. Why? Because that process of making that practice test or quiz alone is 80% of the learning process. Of course, we have available practice quizzes, apps. There's an app for everything that you can download and help you with your review. Okay? I remember I did have a student who lives an hour away from school. Okay? And she said, I'd record, so she's tying 2 things, the audio and the practice. Back in the day when there were not a lot of apps yet, she would make her own practice quiz, record her audio, and then play it while driving. That's an hour of learning or studying or reviewing, going to school, and another hour back. So 2 to 3 tips here should combine, or you can combine 2 to help you with recall of the top 200 drugs. Number 9, just like in anything we do, especially anything we do that's new or first time, practice, patience, and consistency will go a long way. So tie it to tip number 8. You have to do this every day. Be consistent. This is the reason why we quiz our students once a week on 10 drug words, 10 abbreviations, even if the class is not pharmacology, because consistency is key in anything that we're doing. Little strides, even if it's just a 10-minute quick quiz study, number 8, tip number 8, and then tip number 9, practice 10 minutes. 10 minutes, add up real fast. Consistency, set a time. Be patient. Why? You weren't born spewing the brand, and the class of these drugs. I always say it's like moving to a different country. We have to learn 3 different languages minimum right away. The language of medical terminology, the language of drugs, the language of math, pharmacy calculations. These are technical languages. And so be patient with yourself. You're not going to get it right away. Be kind to yourself. But practicing and consistency will help you get to the finish line and even beyond it. And last but not the least, one of my favorites is the teach back method. From the beginning of class, I assign students who have been here a while. So in your example, you can find somebody, a partner, a study buddy. I assign a student who's been here with me longer to the freshmen, the incoming new students. Okay? And what I do, I have them teach the new students. I always say it's like a double-edged sword. You're not just giving. By teaching others or by doing the teach back method, it's not one way. You get it back by the recall. And not only the recall is what you get back if you're the teacher. Okay? You also gain confidence. Confidence as a person, confidence being a tech or a future tech or a future CPhT, confidence in your entire life. Okay? So not just in the drug words, but confidence in you, in yourself. You become more credible, especially when you start practicing as a pharmacy technician or a certified pharmacy technician. And that ends my 10 tips. But like always, I like giving away free gifts. So if you haven't yet, if you haven't gotten a copy of the top 200 drugs memorizing made ridiculously easy, I made an arrangement with Amazon so that yesterday, today, and tomorrow, all 3 sessions of the NPTA, you can have access to this ebook for free. And then after the 24th, after the NPTA summit, it's not free anymore, so take advantage. Top 200 drugs, memorizing made ridiculously easy. It will lead you to an Amazon link, and it will say 0 charge. So do it as soon as we get off, and do it. You only have till the 24th to do it. And here's another link for the gift. And always remember, this 10 tips will help you, will build your confidence. And the last thing I'd like to say is, you got it. You got this.
Dr. Lohner, thank you so much.
Thank you for having me last minute, but thank you. I appreciate it.
Absolutely. You guys have got a great opportunity here to ask some questions to Dr. Lohner, so go ahead and drop those in the chat. We'll do those. Thank you so much for sharing the free gift with the attendees. That is so kind of you. We've in the online portal, which I think the QR code at the top of the screen there gets you access to that. We've got links in there as well to Dr. Lohner's CPhT in 90 program, as well as to the Amazon link for the textbook.
Yes.
It's been so exciting. We follow each other on Instagram, and
yeah.
So seeing when you launch the book and everything that's going on with that, congratulations so much.
Thank you.
So, and I also think, I'm not 100% sure, but I think one of the bonus resources in the school group is another video of Dr. Lohner from one of our previous student summits where she's teaching calculations. I believe that's in there. So
Yeah, that was 2020,
I think that was our first one.
2020, yeah. And then 2021 is managing depression.
Yeah, so there's all sorts of goodness in there
Woohoo!
from Dr. Lohner. Let's see. Any questions? Color-coded flashcards. Of all your tips that you gave, Dr. Lohner, what, if you were going to prioritize them, for the students, which ones do you recommend?
So the first one would be grouping them by class, definitely. Okay. But tied to that will be your knowing your prefixes, roots, and suffixes. Mm-hmm. Tied to that, knowing your class. Because if you know the class, if you know the suffix, you know the class, then it's easier for you to just put, oh, this ends in sartan or pril. Oh, it's for hypertension, even if you forget the other class, right? So that would be a priority, okay? And then once you're gaining some confidence, the teach back method, I love that so much.
And so what if someone is studying on their own?
Oh yeah, funny sticks in the head would be the next one. The funnier it is, the better. And we always get a good laugh in pharmacology, and they always ask us, because we have more than 10 programs here on the campus, and they always ask us, why do you always have like a party every day? Because learning doesn't have to be stressful. The more fun we have, the better the retention. So I believe in that. So I try to make it funny, not on purpose, but sometimes it just comes out. I guess it's just my personality and stories that I've had, my personal experiences through the years. And then I tell them a lot of stories too afterwards that students share because of this drug or that drug. And I always tell them, look, talk to your parents, ask them their prescriptions, and then start knowing or asking them, what do you think this is for? That's a way to help them too. And then as you go on, as you move along, you will have your own stories or experiences to share or to tell yourself or your future kids.
Yeah. And you can teach back to anyone, right?
Yes.
It doesn't have to be a fellow student or someone in pharmacy. You can do a teach back to.
Yeah. I had a student, she said she talks to her parrot. And she says the words to the parrot. Sometimes they said like the cat, if they're living on their own, they're by themselves and they have fur babies. That's what they do. I'm not judging. I think that's cute. Right? I think that's cute. I love it. So I know what their pets are because they share those stories with me. I think that's cute. It's not really funny. I think that's cute more than funny. It's like, oh my God. I said, what happens if the cat responds? Just joking, but I asked them that.
And then, yeah, that would be a whole nother issue. They would need something else if the cat.
I have a lot of cat moms and cat dads in my classroom. That's why I had that as an example.
Yeah, absolutely. I did the same thing. I remember when I was in high school, which was a long time ago.
I hear you.
I remember when I first started taking French, I would come home from school and I would call my grandmother and like I would tell her the words I learned that day. And I think that lasted for like the first 6 weeks. And so I was teaching her what I was learning, and then we were like, okay, we're good on French. We didn't do any more.
French is very hard. The rules on the grammar.
Very challenging. What other tips do you have just in general for the students with the exam and getting started in their career?
Yeah, so I'm big on making educated guesses. Okay, that's why I created this 10 tips. Okay,
Yeah.
I'm very big on educated guesses. That's why this 10 tips will apply in making an educated guess. Okay, if you combine all these tips, you're solid. Okay,
You're just increasing your odds.
it's just
right?
increasing your odds. And like I said, I printed the blueprint, and medications is 40% of the PTCE blueprint, and patient safety and quality assurance is 26.25%. This is the exact reason why I created this. It's like a quick study guide, like straightforward. The 200 drugs I grouped them already for them. I had the different roots, prefixes, and suffixes in there. The 10 tips are also in the book. So when I saw that they changed the blueprint and it's heavily medications and patient safety, I said, I got to do something. I got to do something. So this together, it's like a handbook, a quick guide for the drugs. And then I linked it to my audio lectures where I told a lot of stories, funny ones, how to remember the drug-to-drug interaction. It also includes drug-to-drug, drug-to-food, drug-to-disease interactions, and the stories behind that. How do you remember broccoli and kale and spinach? I have stories about those things and how it comes up on the PTCE.
Very, very interesting. Well, I think, do we have any questions? They've got the links they put in
I see the QR codes too.
the chat. Yeah. Let's see. Annette asked if there's a study group where we can teach each other. So there's a few. With the school group that we created, you guys can connect in there and chat to work with each other. I know Sharon, who presented yesterday, she has a Facebook study group. That would be a great place for you to go in. Dr. Lerner, do you have like an online group of anything besides, I know you have the app.
Yeah, I do have the app, the CPhT in 90.org. It's an online review for the PTCE, and it's got over 1,000 students, and we've still had 100% pass rate on the PTCE on first try. So that's really awesome. And I'm on YouTube as PTCB Exam tutor. And so I see in the chat group, people are just communicating in there, but I tried to have a community in there in YouTube.
Yeah. So there's lots of resources, and that I would just find whatever works best for you, where you like to communicate with everyone. Bum, bum, bum.
Mike, did you mention the school group that you have?
Yeah, that's the QR code up at the top leads in there, and then that's where access to all of these videos, and that's where you'll get links to Dr. Lohner's site, the book, everything is in there as well. You get links to the handouts for the sessions. I just noticed someone said in the chat that it's set to unlock on different days. So I was not aware of that. I'll go in there for this week and get that all unlocked, so that way you can access everything. And then y'all feel free to use the chat, the community area to talk with one another, find study buddies, do your teaching tips, all of that good stuff. All right. Well, I don't see any other questions. You know what that means, Dr. Lohner? That means you taught it so good, they don't have any other, they're just like, I want that book.
Yeah, oh, by the way, if you get the paper back at the back, I left some 20 pages of blank pages so you can make it a notebook too as you study.
Awesome.
Yeah, the ebook has that too, and that's one of the things that students told me that they love about the book, the blank pages too.
Can we, can you guys minimize Dr. Lohner and I and put the slide back up with the link? It looks like a lot of folks were looking for the link to the book. And we'll leave, there we go. We can leave that up also during the break, so that way you guys have access to that. And then when we come back after our break, we're going to jump into another great session with Rachel Hawkins, preparing people for what's it like making that transition from the classroom to the job site. It can be quite a big transition, and so she's going to be providing tons of great advice on making that. So we're going to put we'll put 12 minutes on the clock. We'll come back at 1 o'clock. I'll also be giving details on our giveaway for day 2, so you don't want to miss that. And then we will we'll get started with our second session. But as always, Dr. Lohner, thank you so much.
Thank you.
You're having you.
I wish I could send some sun from Vegas to you.
We need it today.
I know. I didn't know. I didn't even check your weather, but that I felt bad after you said that. That's why Ashley's not here.
We will see you all back here at 1 o'clock.
See ya. Thanks for having me.
Thanks.
Okay. I created that PowerPoint posted and forgot about it. I said, I'm gonna say no because I have a TEDx, but if you're gonna work with me having a late submission of the PowerPoint, I'm gonna say yes to you. And they said it's okay. So I just sent my PowerPoint last Monday and I did it on Canva. So you'll get all those clickable links. Okay, what'd you learn? Right? 10 tips? Straightforward. I said, what am I gonna do? I told my VA, put the 10 tips on my PowerPoint. I'll edit it. It's true. Why? It's in the front of the book. Don't skip it. When you read it, don't skip it. It's on the very front in detail. The 10 tips, and I have some more elaboration on it. The 10 tips are here. Sharon's nodding because she read it cover to cover. See that? I already grouped it for you by system. The drug to drug, the drug to food, the drug to disease interaction is there as well. The commonly used prefixes, roots, and suffixes is there. And this is my favorite part. And some students said, oh, I love it! They're right on it. Yeah, it's well thought of. Like based on feedback, based on how do I help you? And it's true, it's 66.25% of the PTCE. 40% is medications. You got questions for me? Yeah, I can kick off my shoes, my superpowers can go away.
So one of the chat said their teacher used it like 10 years ago.
I was their teacher 10 years ago.
Someone's teacher used it, that same reference for that word 10 years ago.
I wasn't paying attention to the chat, and my slides were small, but I wrote the slides. I know the slide. That's why I said I can run without a slide. Like always. Yeah. What's your favorite of the 10 tips, Sadie?
I'm not sure. Probably flashcards.
Flashcards is your favorite. Yeah, I have a flashcards in there, all 200. You see, digital flashcards. So go to that link that I said and you can get those stuff. The mobile app, I made it exclusive. I took it out Google and I took it out Apple because I wanted to be exclusive to my students in my online review class. Okay. What's your favorite, Jade?
I'm gonna say flashcards too.
Flashcards too. We're old school, right? Flashcards, yeah. I had students who had this thick flashcards with ring. Every Oregon, they have it. But then there's a group of students who just like white, but then they started changing it to different colors when I told them I used different colors. Because on the test, the pink will flash, the yellow will flash, and then you can make a guess. Like, oh, this is for the heart because I wrote it on a pink flashcard. Yeah. Calvin, what's your favorite 10 tips? Huh? The acronyms. Yeah, you like the ABCD?
Yeah, because I feel like I recognize things more better if I just have it in simple terms.
Yeah, and some of them overlap, right? The mnemonics and then the ABCD, right? Fabian, what's your favorite?
Well, I kind of like the flashcard and storytelling.
The flashcard and the storytelling. You
Yeah.
notice I always have stories in pharmacology. Yeah.
Because the flashcard.
Sometimes gross. Yeah.
When you say when you color code the drug, you actually know what you're actually knowing what drug it is. And about the storytelling, I like how you say when remember the funny is fixed in your head, the funny is the story is better to recall to know what you're knowing about the drug.
Right. Okay. Addie,
I like the visual and the storytelling.
the visual from Pixarize.
Yeah.
Yeah. Throw mycin. I sent you that, right? Insulin, and then antibiotics is next. Yeah. Melanie,
I also like the flashcard.
you like the flashcards too, digital flashcards too. Yeah. And if you write it, the better, because it's 80% of the learning process. Ida, Liz,
Audio repetition.
the audio and repetition. Yeah. So I have audio lectures on pharmacology because you don't have to see me to learn to say the drugs, to learn about the drugs. But I have videos on NAS because you have to see me do it. I have videos on compounding. Those are carefully curated and selected medium of delivery. Yeah, just listening, recall. Okay. Sharon.
Definitely mnemonics
Mnemonics, yeah.
and consistency.
And consistency, yes, every day, even if it's not a pharmacology day. Yeah. Hi, what's your favorite?
I like ABCDs.
ABCD,
I don't know why I got like a.
You had an aha moment?
Yeah.
That sequence too.
Yeah, but just now I have that.
But that was your first sequence.
Yeah.
Ooh. And consistency. Use it, huh? They said if you get it for free, you don't value it. That's why sometimes I just say, give me $1. Okay? But use it, okay? A lot of people, like, only do exclusive stuff, yeah? Buy it just because of the note. And old school people like paper, yeah? But that one, the ebook version, you can highlight. Actually, the audio is coming up soon. Now that TED Talk is done, this is done, so I can focus on the upcoming Pharmacy Calculations Made Ridiculously Easy book. It's almost done until they chose me as a speaker for TED Talk, so I stopped. But I'm on the last stage of editing, so it's going to be Pharmacy Calculations Made Ridiculously Easy. There's going to be 200 practice questions covering everything on the PTCE. All my books are well thought of to help students. Of course, you're gonna get it first. Yeah. Davion, what's your favorite tip?
Probably, there's the two that I really like are the visualization and also storytelling, because when it comes to learning things, I need to attach it to other things in order to memorize it better. Because if I just remember it as the word, it won't stick to my head as easily as, oh yeah, this is a story that she mentioned before and it had this involved. It's a lot easier. And having images attached to something really helps too, because it'll stick inside my brain better.
So true. Yeah. Diana, princess.
I like the ABCD, and I also like the flashcards.
The flashcards.
I bought colored flashcards.
Yeah, it helps. Yeah. I have a niece. His name is Diana. Her birthday is today. Did I miss anyone? The Kari. What's your favorite of the 10 tips?
The funny stories.
The funny stories, the funnier, the better, the funnier.
Or just stories in general. I feel like you'll memorize them a lot more than trying to memorize words.
Yeah. Stories in general, especially with the side effects, the use of the drugs, you know. Any questions? Okay, I'll send you on a 10-minute break. Okay, and then we come back. I'm going to talk to the freshmen and continue with that day one of class, like the resources that we have. We're going to go through Blackboard. Okay, we have to cut that short. Freshmen, you all got your books? Okay, we'll go through Blackboard after the 10-minute break.
How was it? How was your CE?
How was the CE? They're quiet.